All right, so we're diving into Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. And wow, you really weren't kidding about a ton of material.
Yeah, we pulled everything we could find. IMDb details, user reviews, both glowing and scathing, and even a professional critic's take on things.
And that same plot, different city thing, it keeps coming up. So is there something more to it than that? Like, I mean, is it really just a rehash or is there something deeper going on?
Well, it's funny because so many people point out the similarities, but then also say it's even better than the original.
Right. It's like you can't deny the parallels, but there's this undeniable charm to it still.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes down to the setting, New York City at Christmas. It's iconic.
Totally. But is it just the setting or is there something more? Because those booby traps, they're way more intense this time around. I mean, bricks to the face, that's pretty dark for a Christmas movie.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point you bring up, the violence. It's definitely amplified in this one, and I think that's where the setting really comes into play.
Okay, I'm listening.
In the first movie, Kevin's protecting his home, right? It's almost symbolic.
Wait, he's defending his castle.
Exactly. But in New York, he's on the offensive. He's not trapped. He's roaming free and actively seeking out these guys.
So that changes how we see him instead of just reacting. He's almost like hunting them.
Which brings us to Kevin's character development. Some reviewers say he's more resourceful, but isn't it easier to con adults in a busy city than a watchful neighborhood?
True.
So maybe it's not growth, maybe it's just the environment that makes him seem smarter.
Ooh, that's a good point. But then if the parents are supposed to be more attentive this time, how do they lose him again? Doesn't that undermine any redemption arc for them?
That's a great question. It does suggest that maybe the family theme isn't handled as well in this one, but, it's interesting because New York at Christmas is iconic, like we said.
For sure. And I was actually Kevin's age when this came out. The Plaza seems so glamorous.
Oh, wow.
Now it's just, well, where rich people stay. Does that childhood wonder still work for today's viewers?
That's a really interesting personal connection you have with the film. And it speaks to that whole nostalgia factor, right? What might have felt magical then could seem dated now.
Especially compared to that grittier pre-Giuliani New York that one reviewer mentioned. It's almost a historical document now.
Exactly. And that grit makes the violence even more unsettling. It's not cartoonish slapstick anymore. It's happening in a world that feels real.
Which makes those supporting characters even more important. I feel like they bring the heart. But I gotta say, Mr. Duncan, he's almost too sweet.
Right.
Does that undermine the whole redemption message?
That's a valid point. He's almost saintly, which is a huge contrast with the harshness of the city and Kevin's actions. It makes you wonder if the filmmakers were trying to balance things out.
And you have Tim Curry as the concierge.
Yeah.
He's comedic gold, but also kind of suspicious.
Right. He embodies that New York cynicism, always looking for an angle.
Exactly. And the pigeon lady. She's heartbreaking, but is a bit too heavy-handed.
Yeah, she kind of replaces the old man from the first film, but their connection feels forced. It's like they knew they needed that emotional element, but struggled to fit it in.
So is Home Alone 2 just a rehash? Or is the setting change actually saying something about the themes themselves? The violence, the family, even Christmas spirit.
Yeah.
It all hits differently in New York.
It's not just a backdrop. It's almost another character influencing everything.
Okay, I like that. So it's more than just same plot, different city.
Exactly. And understanding that interplay is crucial to figuring out if this is a worthy successor or just a cash grab.
All right, so let's unpack those individual elements and see if they hold up.
Let's do it. Because that's how we go beyond surface-level opinions and get to the heart of what makes Home Alone 2 such a fascinating and divisive film. Okay, so let's dive into those user reviews. It's really interesting how many people praise the film's humor while acknowledging the problematic parts.
It's like they're trying to reconcile their childhood love for it with their adult sensibilities.
Yeah, exactly. One review I saw called it a guilty pleasure. They admit that the violence is over the top, but they still find it funny.
I get that.
Yeah.
There's the part of me that cringes when Harry gets hit with that brick, but then I also chuckle at his reaction.
Yeah, it's that nostalgia factor. We have these warm memories, and it's hard to let go of them even when we see the flaws.
And, you got to give it to Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. They really commit to those physical gags. Their chemistry is undeniable.
Oh, absolutely. They're masters of comedic pratfalls, but the question is, does the humor still land when the stakes are so much higher?
Right, because New York City isn't some cartoon playground like in the first one. There's a real sense of danger there.
Exactly. And the cinematography really amplifies that, like the way the camera lingers on those dark alleys and deserted streets. It creates this feeling of unease.
It's so different from the first movie, all those warm, brightly lit interiors of Kevin's home.
Right. Even the Christmas decorations in Home Alone 2, they feel less genuine, like the city itself is stripping away that innocence.
Which makes Kevin's actions seem even more out of line, you know? He's not just outsmarting some bumbling burglars. He's causing real pain in a world that already feels pretty harsh.
And some of the reviews pick up on that one, even use the word sadistic, which is strong but also kind of accurate.
Yeah, it is tough to watch sometimes, especially for a movie that's supposed to be family-friendly. It makes you think about how much our tolerance for violence has changed.
Oh, absolutely. What might have been okay in the early 90s might feel totally different now.
And that's where those deeper themes come in.
Yeah.
If the movie is trying to say something about redemption or forgiveness, that message gets lost with all the violence.
Yeah, it creates this weird clash between those heartwarming moments with the pigeon lady or Mr. Duncan and the brutal reality of what Kevin's doing.
It's like the movie can't decide what it wants to be. Is it a sweet Christmas story about family and kindness? Or is it a dark comedy about a kid who enjoys hurting people?
And that's the big question, right? Is that clash intentional? Are the filmmakers trying to make us uncomfortable, or did it just happen because they were trying to up the ante from the first movie?
Maybe it's something each viewer has to figure out on their own.
I think so, because ultimately how we see Home Alone 2 is shaped by our own experiences and what we believe in, you know?
It's a really fascinating example of how a movie can be both the product of its time and a reflection of how our views change.
And that's what makes these deep dives so interesting. We're not just talking about the plot, we're talking about art and culture and how they connect to our own lives.
It's funny, we've talked about the violence, the setting the characters, but we haven't really touched on the music.
Oh, the score.
Yeah.
You're so right. It's often overlooked, but it really sets the mood.
Exactly. Those big string parts and those playful little melodies, pure Christmas magic. But does it clash with the darker stuff? Or does it make that dissonance even stronger?
That's a great point. It's like the music is trying to tell us that everything's fine, even when Kevin is going crazy on those guys.
It's like this back and forth between the Christmas feels and the reality of what's happening.
And it happens visually, too. Think about those shots of the Twin Towers, a reminder of what's not there anymore.
It's like the movie is haunted by its own past. The stuff in it, A&D, the world it shows.
And that celebrity cameo we talked about.
Wow.
Oh, I'll talk about dating the film. It's kind of ironic because that person now is known for, well, let's just say, not the best stuff.
Yeah, it really shows how our views of people can change over time.
Just like our views of this movie, what seemed funny in '92 might not be so funny now.
That's what I love about revisiting these old movies. They show us how we've grown and how society has changed.
It makes us think about what we used to love and what we believe now.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on Home Alone 2,
Hopefully you see it a bit differently now.
it's more than just a silly Christmas movie. It's got layers.
In the setting, the characters, the themes, they all work together to create something that's fun but also makes you think.
And we've seen how time can change how we see a movie A&D, what it means to the world.
This deep dive should give you a lot to think about, not just about Home Alone 2, but about how movies can make us understand ourselves and the world better.
Don't stop thinking critically about the things you watch.
And happy holidays.